Hi everyone, this is ScoreChaser, and ooh woo, what do we have here? These are the NES controllers for the Nintendo Switch that were released alongside of their online program that was launched in September. Back when they did the Direct that showcased these controllers, Nintendo pulled the sucker strings of my wallet, and I just had to go and get myself a pair. I've had these for about a month now, and I've been playing around with them, and there were a ton of misconceptions and misinformation about these when they were first announced. Mainly being that these would only work with the NES Online app, which is not true. If you have any game on your Switch that doesn't rely on the analog stick, you can use these controllers with mixed results. Like, say, you can use these with the Mega Man Legacy Collection just fine. All you have to do is just remap all the buttons. That's it. Same thing with a lot of other games like Shovel Knight, Luminous. I've been playing a bunch of games, especially a lot of 2D ones with these controllers, just to kind of test them out and see how well they work. The controllers can also be used while attached to the system on their sides like this. It's kind of a monstrosity, and if you're using it to play NES games, it's a little weird to get used to pushing down the B button and then the A button like that. If you're trying to run in Mario or something, it's kind of weird, kind of tricky to get used to. But I wouldn't recommend playing like that, but you have that option. You can also play with one Joy-Con over here and the other attached to the system, so that way you do have a functioning D-pad, and it does feel quite comfortable. Again, it just takes time to get used to. The controllers themselves are very similar to an actual NES controller, although the new ones weigh a bit more because they have a battery and all the gizmos and gyros in them. They don't have gyros. I'm just using old people speak. With all the little doodads that they have in them to make them work wirelessly with the Switch. They're not heavier, like by a large margin, but you do notice the weight if you're used to playing with older controllers like I am. And also, I took this apart earlier today just to check out the inner workings because I was cleaning out this controller because it was all gunked up from 30 years of play. And the insides, as far as the buttons, are the same. So if you wanted, you can actually take the buttons from a classic NES controller and implant them into one of these. So that way you really do have that authentic feel. Not to say that they're not authentic feeling, but they do feel a lot better than trying to use a Joy-Con on its side playing an NES game. The D-pad is very functional. It works great. You don't have a lot of those mistaken inputs that you get with a lot of the Pro controllers where you get like diagonal down right a lot, so that's great. Especially with a lot of 2D games, that require a great deal of precision. So these are absolutely fantastic for that. But a question is, who are these exactly for? I myself am an NES collector, mainly NES, with any Nintendo product. So yeah, I was the target market for that. The collector. So yeah, if you were a collector, I would recommend picking a set of these up. Not only, because they look nice and they work with your Switch, but, just a nice piece of the history when they decided to do online. I know there's a lot of controversy on whether or not it's a good service or how much they're actually providing with the service to make it warrant the annual fee, especially charging, $60 for two NES controllers. Sorry, that's my phone. That just completely sidetracked me. But if it's worth the $60 for these two controllers, I'd say they are, especially since I'm a collector. If you weren't able to pick up an NES Classic Edition, and you wanted to share the experience of playing these games with your children in as an authentic way as possible without having to go through the money to find an NES or an NES Classic in working condition to share with your kids. So if you wanted to share what it was like to play these games with your kids, then yeah, I would say go for it. For more casual people, I would say that they would work as well, but if you're not too hardcore about the NES, I wouldn't say that these were for you. This is mainly for people who are NES enthusiasts and collectors. So let's go ahead. They do attach to the system much like a Joy-Con, as I said. and they have the release buttons on the back. This is the left one, so this one would actually go into this side, and you just use the buttons like the regular Joy-Con to lift them out of the system. I'll show you a little bit of how these look. I already have these paired to the system, and you pair them to the system the same way with a regular Joy-Con. You just snap them in, and they charge. I haven't had to charge these too often because the battery life is actually fantastic with these things. I'd say that I've only had to plug them in like twice in a month, which is really good. So let's go ahead and go into the NES Online. Another thing with these controllers is that if you use them to play the NES Online, it actually changes the user interface, adding different colors and sound effects to just navigating the menus. So as soon as I saw that, I thought that was pretty cool. It was an unnecessary touch, but it was a nice touch. And there you go. It starts up. You can hear, getting a mushroom. And selecting a title has a different sound. Checking the details of a game has different sounds to it. Backing out. Man, I am popular today. Going through your settings. They all have different sound effects. It's just a nice little touch. Let's go ahead and jump into some Zelda. This is one of the games that was released in January of this year. Oh, jeez. My apologies for that. But yeah, they are very responsive. I have noticed no lag time with the inputs, which is very important, because if you have lag, you're dead. While playing the NES, using just this controller, your L button works as your capture. You can also take video with that, and the right shoulder button takes you home. That's pretty much it, and pressing both of them at the same time brings up the suspend menu, where you can create suspend points, change the game, reset it. You got all your options right there. You can go back to the menu. But overall, I say that these are fantastic. I love them as a collector. They look nice just sitting on my shelf. I unfortunately did not keep the box due to a water spill. But yeah, these are absolutely great. If you do have the NES Online service, I do recommend picking these up. But that's just me. Your needs are your needs. What you need is what you need. And if you have a Pro Controller and you really don't feel like spending the extra $60, then stick by that Pro Controller. It works. Your other options are that you can get an SN30 Pro from 8BitDo. Those have a functioning D-pad, but also have the bells and whistles of a Pro Controller. And are about $40 to $50. So you do have options when it comes to playing retro games on the Switch. You can get the Pro Controller, which has kind of shaky D-pads. You can get these. Plus there's a few third-party controllers that do have a D-pad. Like I do have the Hori D-pad Joy-Con, but I'm not a fan of it because I like to use a grip on my Switch, and the Joy-Con that they provide for that is a little wider than the traditional one, and so it doesn't fit my grip. So to me that was kind of a game killer for that. But I passed that on to my sister, who will probably get some good use out of it. But other than that, that's pretty much all I can really say about these controllers. I think they're fantastic. They're a nice bit of Nintendo's history that they've been able to bring forward again into the current market. Hopefully they do some Super Nintendo ones in the future, because there's rumors circulating that there are Super Nintendo games hidden within the code of the NES Online service, so let's hope. That would be cool. Getting some Super Nintendo controllers in, you would have access to a good assortment of games on the Switch because of the number of face buttons on there. That would be absolutely cool. But yeah, other than that, you guys have an awesome day. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and be sure to stay tuned to this channel for more retro things. And there's a lot more coming soon in the future. Again, be good to yourselves and be awesome.